Hey, I'm Andrea Olson. I've been leading worship and training worship leaders for nearly 20 years, and my mission is to support worship leaders just like you in volunteer-supported ministries because I know what it's like. I've been there. It's amazing, but you have a big job, and sometimes you might feel a little bit alone. But I'm here to remind you that you aren't. We'll cover spiritual and leadership growth, practical resources, and get encouragement from other worship leaders from all over the world. I truly want to see you lead from the overflow, not the overwhelm. So grab a cup of tea or coffee and join me. Welcome to the Overflow Worship Podcast. Well, here we are. It is the last podcast of 2023, and I can't believe it. And I also am just so grateful for the amazing journey that we have had throughout the podcast this year. And I'm grateful to each one of you for being with me on the journey, for listening, for watching on YouTube, and I'm excited for all that's to come. So I wanted to do something a little bit different for this last podcast of the year because I know that things are probably a little bit crazy right now, right? It's December. It is one of the busiest seasons of the year for those in worship ministry. And so this podcast isn't going to be long. I'm going to take about the next 10 minutes, and I just want to give you an opportunity to pause, to reflect, to take a deep breath, to be encouraged, because in this week leading up to Christmas, I know that there's a ton on your plate. So I hope that this is not the only pause you get, but if it is, I wanted to offer that to you. So I'm going to take a few moments and I'm actually going to read just a little portion of a devotional that I wrote for YouVersion last year. So let's just take a few moments and pause and remember. I'm awestruck by the thought of what it must have been like for the wise men and shepherds when they saw Jesus for the first time. Here were the people who had anticipated the long-awaited Messiah for generations. They had wondered how and when he would come. They had likely speculated for years. But when they saw him for the first time, none of that mattered anymore. God did care. He did see them. He hadn't forgotten, and he had kept his promises. They were looking at the proof. The proof that all of their waiting and trusting was worth it. And he was lying in that manger. And the joy that followed, I can't imagine what it must have been like. What did that explosive and exciting praise sound like as the shepherds went back to their fields? And what about the glorious choir of heavenly hosts? I imagine their celebration lasted for days and their joy never waned. Maybe you've heard these stories all your life and they've become rituals with no meaning anymore. I know I've been there. I challenge you today to take a page from the shepherds. Try to imagine what it must have been like to be an eyewitness to the proof that God had fulfilled the promise they had been hearing about their whole lives. The joy and excitement they must have felt because of Jesus. And then remember, we have access to that joy because we have that same proof living in us when we accept the gift of salvation through Jesus. Maybe you need God to restore the joy of your salvation, like it says in Psalm 51:12. Maybe you're just hoping to find joy in this season that's busy, stressful, fun, and hard, and everything in between. But I just want to encourage you that you don't have to wait until this season ends, until things slow down, until you fill in the blank. You can have that pause, that moment, that restoration, that joy right now. I think that our culture has made this season so busy, and then on top of it, there's a lot of expectation, which we've talked about, on worship leaders at Christmas time. And so we hold this weight, and we want to bring joy to people, and we want to steward this calling and steward this gift and steward this season with honor. But at the same time, if it causes us to live in a space where we're completely depleted, we're completely exhausted, or we're completely dreading it, that is not a good place to be in. And I believe that's not where God wants us to be. And so I wanted to just provide you with an opportunity today to take a pause, because I think you might need it just as much as I do. I was sitting just last night thinking about all the things that needed to happen before this weekend and before next weekend. And I was honestly really convicted, because I don't really know the last time that I just let my mind and my heart fully settle. And I haven't gone to God with this list of all of these things that are on my mind that I'm worried about or that I need to do. But I just went and I just sat and was restored in His presence. And so if that's you today, if you just need that moment, we're going to give it to you. So as this podcast wraps up, we're going to play the last song from my album. It's called Pause in His Presence, and it's just a instrumental. And all it's going to be is an opportunity for you to sit, whether you're listening in your car or you're watching on YouTube or you're sitting at work, sitting at home, doing dishes, wherever this finds you. I hope and pray that this gives you the opportunity to just pause and reflect, even if only for 3 minutes. And it gives you a little bit of fuel and encouragement for the days ahead. I truly hope that you have extra amounts of everything that you need through this season. And I just want to say to you, Merry Christmas from all of us at Overflow Worship.